care. You don't know enough to care.
Right.
You know, they just have you signing these documents, and you're signing over with these crazy interest rates. And, you know, like my interest rate of fees is almost the same amount as it actually cost me to go to Art Institute from what I borrowed. Right? So it's like, you know, now you're looking at it again. Yeah. And you're like, this is going to be $10,000 a year. Right. You know, let me slow down on that idea. Right? Let me really think about that idea. Right? But the way I kind of look at it is, it's my daughter's going to be 4 in December, and I'm like, that flew by.
Right.
Right. If I had stayed in school around then, I'd be done by now and on to MFA by now. You know, so it's like, it's a small fraction of my life in comparison to everything else.
Yeah.
And if I can do it and get through it.
I've had other folks that have gotten their MFAs say that, you know, it's, save the money and go spend your time being an apprentice to somebody that kind of like what you've already done. Yeah. You craft your own education. Yes. Create your own education. If you, maybe there is as much value that is associated with an MFA would be associated with you saying that someone like Cedric, that you like worked alongside of him for X number of years.
I used to think so,
and so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm starting to get somewhat of an idea. I still don't fully know. Right. But the one thing I can say is there is it becomes a difference maker. Right. I think that if you can do both. Yeah. That the way that I think of it now is say I had gone to school and already got my MFA at the same time the rest of my peers did. Would that have given me more than I have now? And I say probably not. Right. Right? Like probably not. It hasn't had an effect on where we've gone so far, what we've done so far, the grants we've gotten, the public art opportunities we've gotten. It hasn't. Right. But if I compare what we've been able to do with the academics, right, then you're just doubling down on your opportunity of success. Right. So if you can kind of look at life as this game of odds.
Yeah, because I mean the thing is there are certain doors that are going to be harder to open without it, right? In terms of, and see, are you is the self-educated artist going to be able to get into the Whitney Biennial?
Right. And then you have to care about
theoretically, yes. Yeah. But practically, probably not.
Yeah, it's been more tough. And you have to understand that you have to think from a perspective not only of your own, right? That other people value these things, right, as well. Right. Like me, I would like to go to school, to be fully transparent, for the accomplishment of it. Right. To learn other subjects, that's another thing too, and as an opportunity to not just be here in Texas, to have options, right? Whether I decide to be a professor or not, it just kind of opens the door for other options. Yeah. Two is there's a handful of clients that will not buy my work because of it. Right. They exist, and then the other is to remember that I'm selling at a reasonable price point at the moment. Uh-huh. And if we want to get real about the art game, is the numbers, right? Like I've been painting all my life, and now something is $5,000 that I make, and you go, where does that number come from? Right? Like in the very beginning, you're like, everybody's just kind of making shit up, right? But until you know why. Right? Until you understand the market, the way that my price points got to where they are, galleries who have a bit more expertise in selling work than I do. Right. And you kind of see it grow over time, and the reasons why they decide to put them at the price points they put them at. Right. So you start to learn certain things. And so my thing is, I could maybe, make it and blow up and sell to the right people, and then a painting is $40,000.
Right.
Or I can have the backing of an MFA plus those things.
Right.
And that's something me and Cedric discuss a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And there's kind of no way around it, right? Like we hear stories of, say, Basquiat, right? Kind of being brought in from, it's not like he was just found on the street doing graffiti and someone was like, hey, come. No, there's several things he did and several like groups he got into and social scenes he got into that led to the right thing. Mm-hmm. And those things is like a needle in a haystack, right? They're not when there's another path that feels more guaranteed. Mm-hmm. I think the thing that gets people is an MFA necessarily. I would like, or undergrad. We'll start with undergrad. Right. I went to UTA. I wasn't expecting them to teach me how to paint. Right. I didn't think that they would really strengthen my painting. Right. What they did was they strengthened my concepts. They got me out of comfort zones. Right. And then art history is a big one because the art history is where you'll get a good amount of your influence on what direction you want to take your work in, what's been done before. Mm-hmm. So there's certain things that you can get from it, but if you're going there hoping that you can't get around being able to paint. Yeah. Right? Now there's, we all...
You're going to get a lot more value out of that education at the age you are now. Yeah. Than probably, 8-9 years ago.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. When I didn't even know I needed needed certain things that I know I need now. Right. And we've all seen things in museums where it's like, what the fuck? Right. And then that's where the MFA route comes from. Mm-hmm. Right. Like that's where it shows up and makes the difference. Right. Because now you're not just someone painting a red square for the hell of it. Right. You're someone who studied, who's a professional, who's an MFA holder, and this red square means this. Right. And this is my expertise, and people eat it up. Yeah. They do. So it depends on what you value, I think, is really what it is. It's what you value. And for me, I like to be open-minded and fluid with things, And right now what I value is taking care of my family. Right. Like that's a big one, that and educating myself. So now MFA isn't just this money grab. Right. It's this sort of way of educating myself. Right. Like what electives can I take? Right. Can I take electives on owning property, doing real estate? What other electives can I get involved in? Yeah. Right. So it's okay, well, this tool does X and X for artists, but what else can I do on the way there? Right. And so I start to think of things in that way. One of the best advice I've heard, I forget where or from who, is as creative as you are when you're making your work, you should be as creative, or sometimes even more, in your business practice. Right. Like you have to be creative, and what that means is, I have this sort of superstition, right? Because it technically is that if I'm painting constantly, and I'm thinking constantly about how to advance, things are happening for us. When I'm taking time off and I'm not painting, and I'm not really thinking about those things, I'm just kind of chilling, watching videos. Shit doesn't happen for us. Right? Like, if you have a month like that, that's a month without a sale. It's what I call now a dry month. But if I'm just every day in the mode of it, things always tend to happen for us. Right? And so now I'm a firm believer of being constant. Every day, being constant. And I think that makes a huge difference. One of the things that's interesting about this place is that this is full. And like everything's rented out. But it often looks like this. Yeah.
To give you the visual, a lot of empty spaces and not a lot of people around.
Not a lot of people around. And I'm in here Monday through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday sometimes. So there's a certain amount of
so some folks said like maybe renting the space to hold themselves accountable, and it's like it's like signing up for membership to the gym and
not going to the gym.
Not going to the gym.
You gotta go to the gym. Right. And like the gym is something I just gotten into. Like when I went back for that exhibit at Fort Worth Art, they were like, what's going on? I was like, I'm 50 pounds bigger, right? And so, going to the gym is I think a really great sort of experiment with yourself.
Right.
Right? Is you're learning to put yourself through rigorous activity. Mm-hmm. And in the beginning, you see nothing from it.
Right.
The very beginning, you see nothing from it.
Right.
And then as you go along, one day you're like, someone else is like, hey, your arms got bigger.
Right.
And you're like, what? Let me go see about this some more. Right? And then you fix your eating, and then you're increasing the weight and you're gaining weight, and like you're starting to see it in real time now.
Right.
I think that can be applied to a lot of things. In the very beginning of doing art, you see nothing from it but enjoyment.
Right.
Right? You don't know what's going to come of it. I didn't know I wanted an art career.
Right.
Right? But it wasn't until someone was like, wow, that's nice. You should show that. Then you're like, really? Then you go out in the world and you try to participate, and no one's like, oh, I would love to buy that. Then you run into a gallery and it's like, I think these should be priced at $1,000 each, and you're like, whoa, hold on. Right? You're like, $1,000 just seems like this crazy amount to you. Yeah. And then both things sell, and you're like, what? You don't understand that.
Right.
And then as you go along, you start to realize that, oh, okay, this is the art market, right? So you start to learn that that's what it is, and then it becomes a routine.
Yeah.
But if you're not out there participating, nothing's happening.
Right.
Nothing's happening.
Right.
No one's. The likelihood of someone coming and finding you in your bedroom is a no. Right. Maybe on Instagram if you're posting, But I was working on this sketchbook and I was showing no one, even though I was walking around with it.
Right.
The first time that I took it out and someone looked at it was Art Love Magic. Uh-huh. And it was my first time there. I volunteered. I had this sketchbook. They told me that, hey, it's too late to enter artwork.
Right.
For this event that was going on. They saw the sketchbook and they were like, you can enter artwork. We'll make an exception for you to enter artwork. It's like, oh, okay.
Wow.
Here's this thing I've been sitting on. And then I realized the power of that. I had it with me everywhere. Yeah. Willing to show it. Whether it was tacky or not at the time, because I didn't know any better. Right? And then people would say, well, what are you trying to do with this? And I'm like, well, I'm just learning to figure it. Like Rusty Hill, he's a food photographer. Right, that's what he does. He takes food photography for like Furs and I forgot what other places, like some major chains. Uh-huh. And I remember seeing his work, going by there he had the front end of his place was a gallery, uh-huh. and in the back was all this equipment for taking photography of food, like this cool kitchen and everything. And that's what he was mainly doing. And so I go to the opening one day, I'm like, he has hors d'oeuvres back there, so you can see all the equipment. I'm like, wow, I would really love to learn how to take photos of people, and so I start talking to him like, I do this. I want to know if like you would help me like take photos of people for paintings.
Right.
That led him to give his time. Right. So he gave a ton of his, like, we nerded out so much.
Oh, right.
Like we brought people in, we draped them in things. He helped me set up like still life scenes that they would sit in and everything. He had as much fun as I did, but I'm learning all these things about lighting and lights. That leads to an internship with him, and I'm not even in that field. Right. So like now I get to see what the back end of the advertising agency is. Oh, wow. So it's everyone has that thing, I think, that you have to cultivate and realize that that's your interest. Cultivate it, but then you got to share, you got to participate. So when you take someone like Charles Gray, who is like, we're just going to help him participate, right, and get out there and say, here's what I have, and then see what happens. Don't do it for yourself, right? Don't say, oh, well, this is just a sketchbook. I'm just going to do this and put it away. Like, no, let everyone else kind of decide and judge what that is. Sure. Put it out there and see what you never know what'll happen. Yeah. Right. So that's what got me up in. When I left Art Institute, I was like, I'm gonna go see what's possible. Right. And friends were like, well, how are you gonna go do that? I'm like, well, I'm gonna go talk to people.
Right.
Right. And I'm gonna see. And when I did, I found artists who were struggling. I found artists who were not.